Hello, 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 hello. Well, welcome. This site is called Take What Rings True. And let's make sure I have sound here. Okay. Take What Rings True. And tech has not been my friend today. So I'm glad to actually connect with you. I am going to talk about tulpas today. My name is Teresa Micheletti, and I like all things spiritual. And this is a spiritual thing, tulpas. So, tulpas, you've heard of the Loch Ness monster. You've heard of the Easter Bunny. Both of those might be tulpas. Physical beings that are conjured up in someone's mind and visualized and become actual physical realities. It's not a case of just imagining. It's a case of being able to physically see the Loch Ness monster, physically see the Easter Bunny. Now it's possible. My sister saw the Easter Bunny when she was probably about 7, and she knew that that was the Easter Bunny. Seems to me she also saw the Tooth Fairy. Now, it's possible it was imagined. That's true. But the thing about the Loch Ness monster is so many people see it. So the idea is it's an held, and it's a Tibetan concept of a tulpa. So that's where the name comes from. And it's the idea that people or a person thinks about something and visualizes something so much or fears something so much that it becomes reality. Now, not with a soul, but a reality. And probably the most prominent example is a lady named Alexandra David Neal, who was an adventurer, a researcher, a scholar, traveler. And she usually walked. It wasn't like driving in a buggy or anything, because she was born in the late 1800s. She's from Paris, I think it was like 1860, something like that. She was born. And she was enthralled with the idea of the tulpa, and she thought she could create one. So she spent lots of time, months, visualizing. She thought it'd be cute to have a pleasant little monk, like a little tiny friar tuck. And it could be harmless and friendly, and he could be a companion. So she spent lots and lots of time thinking about this little character. Well, it became real, became physical. Now, it was her mind, so she could bring it on command. However, as time went on, the little figure, the little clone of a monk, had a little mind of its own. It would not appear when she wanted it to, and would appear other times. Other people began to see it, like the Loch Ness monster. Other people began to see it, and it became not pleasant and bothersome. So she was trying to get rid of it, and the only thing she could think of was to mentally do the opposite. To make him go away was to like absorb those ideas back into her mind, which she did, but it was horrendous because it made her physically ill. It made her depleted. It made her not want to do this ever again, number one. And number two, just the pressure and the intenseness of trying to bring that back into your mind and erasing it, spending all this time erasing it, just was very, very hard on her physically. So it's possible to create a tulpa, but I would not suggest it because it does not it becomes sentient, obviously, and will eventually have a mind of its own. So don't create one. But there are other tulpas. You've heard of the Yeti or the Loch Ness, not the Loch Ness. What's the other name for the Yeti? Anyway, um, Bigfoot, those guys. Okay, abominable snowman of the Himalayas is probably a tulpa, and probably because people think about it. Other people think about it. The same with the Loch Ness monster. You go to the lake, which is Loch is lake, and you're looking for the monster. Well, you're putting energy into that, and so it can be more physical because you're putting the energy into it. Now, one thing I think happens to people sometimes is um, they're so afraid of the devil that they create a tulpa of the devil to be with them because they've fed so much energy into it that it becomes a physical reality for them. So I don't suggest that. Now, there's a negative part. Sylvia Browne talked about this in one of her books. The Amityville horror, that house that had ghosts and flying pigs and other embodiments of evil. Her opinion is because every time they're interviewed, even after the book was written, every time they're interviewed, the story changes. So she never believed that it was an actual case, but she does believe that it's possible they created a tulpa or tulpas because of their thoughts. They kept telling people about these ghosts that would lift beds and drop them and flying pigs and whatever else. And it became a reality, a tulpa reality. Now, her opinion was that they were doing this to have fame and fortune and not just because they believed in it or they saw it. So it's possible to have a negative intent, which is not a good thing, but it's also kind of fun if you want to go, if you're not afraid of Bigfoot, it'll be kind of fun to go looking for Bigfoot. But then if you saw Bigfoot, would you actually want to see Bigfoot? But maybe the Loch Ness monster, you could go to the lake and that's a little ways away. It's not going to come up and get you like a dinosaur. So it's possible to have tulpas. And I am so positive my sister saw something that she believed was the tooth fairy, and she'd been waiting for her tooth to fall out, waiting for her tooth to fall out, waiting for her tooth to fall out. So she'd been thinking about the tooth fairy, thinking about it. So perhaps it was imagination, hallucination, but it's possible it was a tulpa. And so many kids put energy into that. It's possible there is a tulpa for the tooth fairy. So, tulpas. Oh, I have another story. I remember Sylvia talking about fairies. She didn't believe in fairies, but her grandmother and many people that she knew, that she trusted, believed in fairies. So she thought, okay, there must be a reason for this because Sylvia was very logical. Okay, there's got to be a reason behind this. So she's decided, oh, I've got it. Fairies are tulpas. Okay, close the case. Then she goes to Ireland. And in Ireland, even at the airport, the transportation from the airport to where they were staying, they're talking about fairies and how they changed the runway at the airport because it had gone over a fairy ring and planes were having horrible trouble landing, et cetera, et cetera. So, she took it with a grain of salt. Well, then she's riding in one of those little buggies, I forget what you call them, in Ireland down the road, and she sees a fairy at the edge of the road on top of a plant. She sees a fairy. It's like, okay, I guess there are fairies because she wasn't putting any energy into a tulpa. So she believed they're fairies. And I believe they're fairies because I can see fairies. So, and the fairies don't always look the same. So I don't believe it's a tulpa. So there can be positive ones and negative ones. And if you put emotional energy into something and keep thinking about it, it's possible you could create a tulpa. But it's not a reality with a soul. And as the lady who created the little monk, you can have it go away too. So we are such powerful programmers and we don't believe it. So she programmed to have a tulpa and then she programmed for it to go away. You are a creator. You are so powerful. But tulpas, I like the Loch Ness Monster one. I'm not sure I want to see a Yeti, but the Tooth Fairy's fine. The Easter Bunny's fine, but not that little Buddha guy. So, know of any tulpas that people believe in, or have you heard of any? Hey, Debbie. So, tulpas, something to think about. And if something's unexplained and you don't believe that it's a real thing that somebody's talking about, then perhaps it's a tulpa, which is something that's thoughts and emotions projected that become physical form. Kind of interesting. We are so powerful at programming, so powerful at creating, and we don't even know it. So I do wish that if you wish that you get to see a fairy too, because those are kind of fun. And sometimes they are protectors for people. And they are elementals. And I know of at least two people who have fairies as like helpmates or like angels. They are with them all the time and help them emotionally and create a lightness. So, tulpas versus real entities. Now, fairies you can't usually see because they're in a lower dimension. Their vibration is lower. So unless you're trying to see through the veil, so close your eyes, and often you can see through the veil and see your spirit guide or see your angel or see fairies or I see brownies sometimes. You can see entities. So, tulpas. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully you'll see a fairy if you want to. Thanks. Bye.